target, you miss a full game.
You miss the game you're in, you target in the first quarter, you miss that game, and then you miss a whole nother game.
Is that new? That's part of it? Yeah.
And they're all reviewable now, even if it's not thrown on the field. From what I understand, if somebody up here or Dallas or wherever sees it, they can stop the get buzz down and stop the game and review it. And if they missed it and they see it, he can still be ejected. So, and I'm not trying to officiate. I'm just trying to avoid, I guess, not a catastrophe, but things that can really affect a game. And I'm also a little concerned about reviews. So if supposedly there's about 2.3 reviews on average per game last year for targeting. If this rule stays in effect from what they tell us, I bet there's going to be 5 to 6 a game.
Now what about your head being up? Because is that something that's a point of emphasis when you're coming in for a
Your
tackle?
face.
Yeah, face, yeah.
So here's what we told our players, and I'm probably the worst person to ever give an example of how to tackle. But if you keep your head up, which you should, they're trying to make the game safer, and they should make the game safer. Okay, if you don't lower your head and use that crown area, and if you always hit from here down, you should never have any trouble. You should always be good. But that's not what guys have done coming from high school into this level, because they don't make the highlights unless they, decleat somebody. In the long run, it's a good plan, because the other area that's not being talked about that I think you're going to see more than maybe offensive and defensively is on special teams. So when a punt returner's returning the ball and going around a corner, and the guys trying to tackle him or chasing him like this, and then you have guys coming from back here that get in front of him at the last second and decleat him and knock him upside down, that's automatic ejection now. And for the most part, it should be, because that is a defenseless player, and sometimes those guys get hit by a guy that's had a 20-yard head start running. And that, I agree with that. So now they're going to have to try to just get in front. I call it a drive-by, kind of a drive-by block, and they can avoid that collision. And I think that's a positive thing for college football.
Is that how you coach them now? Is that what you tell them to do that, your guys?
Yes. We have not been real good at it, but we're going to have to get a lot better at it, because if you peel back and you decleat somebody, you're out. I mean, it won't even, it doesn't make a difference what part of the body you use, because you have essentially launched your body at a defenseless player. Because those guys can't see you coming. They're chasing some fast guy, and all of a sudden somebody blindsides them. Even though they're in the front, it's still a defenseless player, and I think that's a good rule.
And blocking too, I mean, like, are there occasions when somebody, like, you can...
Crack block?
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about earlier with Tylen.
Yeah.
See, Tylen was really good at it. And he had either 2 or 3 last year that were legal crack blocks. That this year, they're automatic ejections, because he came back into a defenseless player. Did it in a bowl game a couple years ago against Colorado. It wasn't him. I don't know who did it. I can't remember.
Seals.
Who?
Seals.
Seals did it.
So you get in the way?
Crack block.
I mean, but if you get in that situation, is it better just to kind of like almost in basketball, set a screen or something?
No
Kind
doubt. That's what you have to do. It can serve the same purpose. It's just not going to draw any excitement. It's not going to make the highlights, but it should serve the same purpose. So in the long run, you have to think, okay, if that's your kid that was just chasing the ball, trying to make a play, and got drilled and got decleated, you wouldn't be real fired up about it. You still want him to play college football, so it's probably a good rule. And we'll learn. We're better. Look at the difference this year at the end of the year compared to just 3 or 4 years ago in reduced number of hits from here up. It's gone way down. So the rule's actually serving its purpose. It's just going to be a little sketchy getting there. And I think this year will be tough, because they're really going to enforce it.
25 years ago, Coach Jones's highest paid coordinator made $58,000. Now, entry level money at this level is $200,000, whatever it is, for an assistant position assistant. So, and OSU reportedly last year was in the top 25 or 28 in the country in staff pay. Was the administration here always pretty good about working with you on staff pay, or was it a gradual process after you became the head guy?
I have never been denied any money for an assistant coach. Now, we're reasonable with what we pay. We're all overpaid for what we do. But it's just a supply and demand, it's the market, and that's the way it is. And it's a competitive market, and we all know this. You can look across the country everywhere, and if you don't do it, somebody else is gonna do it. And it goes from staff to administration to the top, you know. It's just like there's some talk out there now, you know, somebody was writing an article, John was writing an article on President Hargis, you know, and he gets it. And everybody has to be on the same page, but I have not asked, I've not been denied anything that I've ever asked for an assistant coach from Coach Holder. But I'm pretty reasonable in what we pay. If I needed more.
You know what you got to work with.
No, I just try to stay within a reasonable budget based on if I ever have to do something. I mean, call it like it is, like it is. Like I needed to take care of Dunn this year, so everybody quit trying to hire him. Well, I need to have funds available, and it needs to be reasonable to do it, because I can't all of a sudden pay him more than I'm paying coordinators. So I have to do the best I can to be reasonable, to pay them fair for what they're worth, but also not just blow it out of the water. But if you don't stay in the market, then you're gonna be playing musical chairs with coaches, because somebody's gonna get in the market real quick. So it's just, it's crazy, and it's not gonna change, because people wanna win.
Are you concerned at all,
People just
though?
wanna win.
Yeah, are you concerned at all that there might be a breaking point at some point? Or
Not really. It's one of the things I don't have to worry about. And the truth be known, if it ever did get to a point where they tried to regulate it, somebody'd find a way around it. Right? They would say, well, we'll pay you this much here, and then you get 2 cars and you get a house, but we're only gonna pay you $250. Somebody will find a way around it.
send a guy down to Whataburger, let him do a radio show for $150,000.
See, it's the American way. You're figuring it out.
Your offense seems to have the weapons it needs to keep doing what it's doing, regardless of who plays quarterback. We talked about this the other day. The Big 12 looks like it's, with the new coaches coming in and some of the other things going on, it looks like it's shifting a little bit. Like the run may be more in vogue this year. Do you see defenses making any kind of shift right now? We talked about this in practice the other day, because coaches get sick at some point in time of explosive plays going on left and right.
It turns the circle, right? It's turning a circle now. You're seeing, I mean, the game's simple. 100 years ago when I played, there was 2 guys in the backfield and a tight end and 2 wideouts. And then they started taking 1 guy out, so then defense started playing with the nickelback, right? The 5th guy, instead of that 5th guy being a linebacker, you take a fullback out and put a fast guy out there. I'm taking a linebacker out, putting a fast guy out there. I'm gonna match him up. Then, 10 years ago, we started saying, forget that. We'll take that big guy out and put another fast guy out there. And so the defense said, well, if you're gonna put a fast guy out there, then I'm gonna take a backer out and I'm gonna put a fast guy out there. Now I got dime. I got 6 DBs, you got 4 wideouts. Everybody's matching everything up, that's all it is. The game's the same. It's just a matchup principle. Now, particularly in this league, you have head coaches and offensive coordinators who are trying to score every play, not every series. They're trying to score every play. And so defenses now, to a certain extent, are playing, they back up a lot more, and they're saying, we're gonna try to gather and keep you contained somewhat, not give you big plays all the time. So you're getting fewer people up front and coming after you and more people back there. So now the offense said, well, if you're gonna do that, we're gonna put another guy in here. And we're gonna do more in here while y'all are back there. It's just a cat and mouse game. And it'll be interesting in this league to see what the thought is. I know what it's gonna be from 6 teams. I just don't know the other 3 or 4 yet. But it'll be interesting to see what they do.
But you would love to run the ball more.
We run the
Deep
ball
down,
now.
I know, but
Shoot, yeah, I mean, I like running the ball. If I can turn around and hand the ball off to a good back, I got a better chance of being successful than if I have to protect, throw, and catch.
Back in the spring, you were talking about needing to find like 6 defensive linemen up front. Israel Antoine comes back, figure he's in the mix. It's early, but how do you feel about defensive line? You still gotta answer some questions here. in the
Don't have a
fall.
clue right now, because we've only been in pad one day, and those guys haven't been out there and gotten tired and been hit, and all the things that we have to know about them right now, we don't have a clue. We don't, because they haven't done anything. A week from now, should be able to say, so far, these 3 or 4 guys are holding up. But right now, I mean, we like their skill set, their attitudes are good and things like that, but we don't know anything about these guys. And I haven't changed any on that. We need 6 guys to play as effective as the 4 did last year, somehow. Now, that's a tough task, right? Guy that's playing in Nebraska was a pretty good player. Brelford was a pretty good player. Jarrell was a pretty good player. So they've got a tall task, but it's who they are, and we're coaching them hard every day. And we'll know a lot more about them in a couple weeks, and then we'll certainly know a lot more about them the 1st of October.
Myron asked about Antoine. He's kind of interesting. You know, he was gonna go here, and then whatever happened, happened. Now he's back here, and he's autistic. But I asked him just off the cuff, because he doesn't act autistic on the field. And he kind of told me it's like the guys that stutter. A guy may stutter, but when he's calling plays or singing, he quits stuttering. And when he's on the field, he says he doesn't feel autistic. Yet when you see him off the field, you know, he looks away from you. I covered him at Millwood. What's your interaction been like with Israel?
He's just a quiet kid. I would have never known he was if somebody didn't tell me. He's just quiet. He goes about his business. Yes, sir. No, sir. Very respectful. I don't even remember. Somebody told us during recruiting about it, and I don't know why they told us, but I would have never known. And even the 8 months that he's been here with us, I don't ever notice it. I mean, you go up to him, talk to him, carry on a conversation. He's just like everybody else. It's kind of nice because he doesn't talk a lot. You know, we got a lot of those guys that talk a lot, and he just goes about his business, does his job, and yes sir, no sir. And I personally don't think it affects his everyday life at all.
What are your expectations for Bundage coming into the season?
Bundage is he's in a minimal practice stage right now. He strained his back a little bit a month ago, and so we've cut back on him with what we're doing in practice. But he needs to be a mature player that it would be the opposite of what discussion we had with the defensive line, because we know what Calvin can do. We know where he comes from. We know what his strengths are. He's aggressive. He likes to hit. So he needs to lead us in those areas. We need a really 50 good plays a game from him. Okay, he's experienced. He's been out there. He's developed, and so he needs to be a player that we can rely on based on his experience.
Now, is he expected to be pretty good going into the game one?
He should be fine. I mean, where he's practicing at a normal pace in a couple weeks. We could put him out there now and do it, but he's a veteran guy, and which I know you just got here, but if you would watch him play, he's not a guy you worry about hitting. Like, he could not practice, and he's still going to hit. And, you know, some guys, you got to get them out there every day because, you know, violence is not a big part of their life. Well, he doesn't have any issues with hitting. I mean, I think you could make him non-contact up until a few days before the game, and he'd be fine. So with him, we don't really worry about that, but I would like for him to be full speed for his conditioning, if not more than anything else, 2 weeks out.
Does having a couple veteran corners allow you to do some things, maybe take some chances, leave those guys by themselves?
They should be better, and I have noticed just in the first 3 days, because we do throw a lot, because we can't hit a lot, so we do more throwing in the first few days because we don't have shoulder pads on. I've noticed that with 4 and 8 and 24 and 20 and 31, even 3, all those guys, they're in proximity more in coverage than they have been. And what I mean by that is when you're covering good receivers in this league and you're asked to play in man coverage, to be in good proximity and battling for the ball, to a certain extent, is really all you can ask for, because they have the advantage. They know where they're going and you don't. You need pressure to get to the quarterbacks, a couple other things to happen. You might win your share of battles, but you take a really good corner and a really good wide out, and they go head to head one-on-one. This wide out ought to win 7-3. Okay, so I see our guys in the last few days in proximity more in their coverages than they have been in the last few years because of experience, would be my guess.
You mentioned in the spring the idea of moving Dylan outside just in case, because those other guys aren't as experienced. 3 days in, have you seen anything from those other guys that would make you not need to do that?
I think that the basketball team that plays over there for us on the left side, I think they're going to be okay, that Dylan can stay inside. I don't know all their names. They're all 6'6", though. I call them the basketball team. But no, I do. I'm just joking with Jordan and CJ and Pat. But I think they're doing okay. But again, I don't want to overstep because they haven't played. So we'll see how they're doing in a couple weeks. And then can they make a play? We can throw Stoner out there on the drop of a hat and he'll be fine. He knows what to do.
Braden Johnson, does he fit more with an inside group or with that outside group?
Who's that?
Braden Johnson?
He's inside. I mean, he's played some outside, and we do some things from the formation that put him out there, but most of the time he's going to be inside.
3 years ago, when you finished your signing day news conference, Bundage hadn't announced, or, he had an afternoon deal.
Mhm.
So what was your level of surprise when he'd signed?
I felt pretty good about him coming here. He does have siblings that have gone away to school, a long ways from home, so I had a little bit of concern there. I knew he was really close with his mom, and his mom worked a lot, and I thought at some point he would like to stay close based on her, but I've been wrong a lot in recruiting. And his siblings have gone away to school, so that concerned me some, but I thought, there was probably a 70% chance he was going to sign with us.
Mike, last year, he wasn't the only one, but the penalty problems you had, personal foul penalties and everything, he had a few of those. How has he handled that? In terms of discussions, or did he approach anybody and say, look, I gotta be better than that, or?
Calvin?
Yeah.
Calvin doesn't talk much. Calvin listens, and he's one of those young men that sometimes you think that he's not listening to you because you don't get much of a response out of him, but he is. He listens. They've all been told about their discipline and reasons that we put ourselves in bad situations last year. Not only him, all of them. And as we progress through and guys start to get fatigued over the next 4 to 6 practices, and we get deep into practice and it's hot and we're pushing them and really stressing their bodies, we're going to really stay on them about the discipline that we were lacking last year. And he has been told just along with all the other guys about that.